Let's get more reaction to that story. We're joined now by the South African National Christian Forum. They've distanced themselves from what they call unfortunate criminal behaviour of Pastor Paseka Mboro Motsoeneng in Katlehong. Bishop Marothi Mashashane joins us now for more on that. Your Grace, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. Is the church oblivious or even to some degree comfortable with the destructive behaviour of some members of the clergy in the name of being human?
Good evening, and thank you for having us. Indeed, well, it is just unfortunate that it was handled the way it was, but indeed, the society is expecting the best way of dealing with such issues, especially from the religious leaders. We are a bit disturbed as well, but we understand under the circumstance, but we expected better from our brother. Yeah. And I believe we could handle it in a better way that cannot lead us to where we are today.
So, Your Grace, I don't need to tell you there is behavior that leads to honor and is behavior that leads to dishonor. But would you say in this particular instance the behavior would have led to honor or dishonor? And is the behavior of a spiritual nature, or is there something else that is going on?
Yeah, well, this is something else, something questionable. Of course, it is putting the entire Christian sector into a regrettable disrepute. Yeah, well, it is just, as I said, it is just disturbing that our brother handled the situation the way he did. And in the public eye, it is not really a good example. People are expecting better from us as the religious leaders, people who've got such dispute in their families. The best way they can come to get a better mediation is from the pastor. So if the pastor is resolving issues violently, as we saw on the video, it is indeed very disturbing. And a church, it's like a hospital. It's a spiritual hospital. And when you come to a church, being a hospital, you're expecting to get competent and a person who can behave in a way that indeed will be a good example. Yeah. So we are shattered.
One of the values, certainly virtues of the faith, is that you would pray for those who offend you. It seems the pastor would have been offended in some way or the other. Of course, investigations are still being conducted there. Is there an obligation, in your view, for a pastor to respond humanly to challenges that seem to offend him?
Yeah, well, we are human beings. Even though we are pastors, we are human beings. We are tested in various ways. We also have emotions like anybody, but as spiritual people, one of the fruit of the Spirit is self-control and meekness. So hence I'm saying maybe the reason for him to react or whatever that he was standing for might be good, but the method, the way it happened, it is just unfortunate and it is regrettable. Hence, we are standing as a religious umbrella and body to apologize actually to the entire South Africans, entire country. This was not really the right way, and it's not recommendable and cannot be defended by anyone. The cause might be for a good one, but the method in the public eye, especially in a primary school where we know it's just toddlers there, even if it was not toddlers, any person cannot be treated the way we saw the video. We don't know what emanated from, where it emanated from, or what made the pastor to react, but the reaction is indeed regrettable. We distance ourselves from it. The South African National Christian Forum, and it is for this reason that we want all churches to be subjected to a religious body whereby pastors can have an oversight. Pastors can be held responsible, accountable for their actions in the community, in their families, in the church as well. We are not only leaders when we are in the church structure, we are leaders even starting from the community. And the community must, when they see a man of a clergy, see a person where we can run for, for protection, for amicable resolution on our differences. But when it happens that we also forget our religious leadership ethic code, then it indeed disturbs, and it makes us to be distanced from the community, because they don't feel safe anymore when they run to the men of God, and that is not acceptable at all.
You've mentioned it yourself. I mean, this calls into question the pastoral office at large and what that represents, but it also, with the reaction of the community burning down the church, a place which you say is supposed to be a haven for those with tension, with pain, who need healing, who need to be reestablished and reborn, has now been seen as something that is really negative and impacts negatively on community. How then, as a body, do you restore that integrity and dignity of the church in that community?
Yeah, well, indeed, as I said from the beginning, we are very much apologetic. Unfortunately, we can't reverse what had already played out, but it is regrettable. It is not an expected behavior or standard, or even a way to respond to the situation. But again, it is also disappointing or regrettable that it triggered the anger to the community to an extent that the community end up making the damage that had happened or taking the law into their own hands. Nobody is above the law. In the same way that we are saying Pastor Mboro was supposed to use other method, we've got laws in our country into resolving this dispute of the two families. The same way, the community doesn't have the right to take the law into their own hands. This is just demonstrating the society, how violent is the society that we are living in. And it is disturbing that even the leaders are demonstrating to resolve matters through violence. And this is really, really disturbing. So we are encouraging the community that once the matter was reported to the police, even now that it's reported to the police, we are asking our community members to calm down and not continue taking the law into their own hands, because this will just result into chaos, because more and more people will be arrested and the community will be fighting that the same people who are arrested must be released. And the law is the law. Nobody is above the law, including the pastor, including the bishops. Nobody is above the law. We are asking even all church members to know about South African National Christian Forum, that their churches must have that an umbrella, the place where community can report the behavior of the pastors, even the church members who are abused in their churches. Now they've got a place where they can report. Our position is very simple. We do not want the government to regulate churches, but then churches or pastors cannot just work without an oversight. This is a self-regulatory Christian body that all churches were inviting to join and be subjected to, so that we can keep our house in order and therefore be a solution to the world and not be a problem to the world, as the leaders of a Christian sect.
Your Grace, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Bishop Marothi Mashashane. He's with the South African National Christian Forum. Right.